About 25 years ago, when I worked at the Center for Neighborhood Technology, I was asked to give a ride home to a young man. He was staying with his uncle who lived near me. That was Jerry Attere. We enjoyed many of our rides together. He was visiting for the summer while gaining experience working on environmental issues at CNT. I was really surprised a few years ago to discover that Jerry had become an interpretive naturalist at the River Trail Nature Center in Glenview. So, Jerry, there we are. I look forward to your presentation of the Cook County Forest Preserves and its role in providing educational leisure and recreational activities for us all. Please give a hand for Jerry.
All right, good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? Everybody can hear me all right? Okay, I'm really used to doing programs and presentations outdoors, so this is a little different, but it's refreshing because it gets me out of my nature center. But I'm here to enlighten you a little bit more about the gem that is the forest preserves of Cook County, and I have quite a bit of, there's so much to talk about it, so bear with me as I go through the material. Bill, Judy, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. I'm African, though I'm now a citizen of the US, and my mom always instilled in me to really take advantage and enjoy being around your elders because you can learn a lot from them. So it's an honor to be here. But today we're gonna reverse our roles and I'll teach you a little bit about some of my work. All right, so I'll start with more information about myself. So like I mentioned, I'm African. I was actually born in a little country, Republic of Benin in the green. Very small country, about 14 and a half million people in West Africa. And Benin is the origin of the Voodoo religion and also the kingdom of Dahomey, which was a very powerful kingdom in the 17th to 19th centuries. Very powerful kings and very powerful female warriors, and that's what it was known for. Very fierce warriors. When the Portuguese came to West Africa, it wasn't easy for them because of this kingdom right there. So that's Benin, where I was born, but I grew up in Kenya in East Africa, a land known for its safaris. Kenya is home to about 56 million people that belong to 42 different tribes. And a lot of languages there in Kenya, English speaking, but also Swahili. All the tribe members, everybody knows how to speak Swahili. Unfortunately, I've been here so long, I've lost a lot of my Swahili, but when I go back home, excuse me, I try my best. But also Kenya, amazing country, safaris, and pictures on the right. That's home right there. I grew up in the capital, Nairobi, and Nairobi is the only international city with a national park inside it. We're talking about Nairobi National Park. So just south of the city, there's a world-renowned national park where you have lions, rhinos, buffaloes, all right, that roam freely just 5 miles from the downtown. So you can see the skyscrapers in the back. That's the national park right there. Now, there is an electric fence on the western, northern, and eastern boundaries to prevent the animals from going into the city, but the southern boundary is completely open, and that's for the migration of animals like zebra and wildebeest. They come and go. But there's only so much an electric fence can do when you have animals like leopards around. So in some of the neighborhoods that are close to a national park, unfortunately at night, some dogs go missing. At night, you have to be very careful because, leopards climb trees, can circumvent a fence. Sometimes even the lions have gone past some of the fences, and the authorities have been called to come and capture them and relocate them. So that's where I grew up, and that's kind of where I got my interest in nature. You see, when we didn't have summer school when I was growing up. So I spent a lot of time in our backyard messing out around with ants and insects and that kind of stuff. I was one of those kids that used fireworks to blow out small ant hills and that sort of stuff. I'll be honest, that's how I kind of, kids learn in certain ways. Now I know better. And I definitely don't want my kids doing that. But that was kind of my start before coming to the States. Um, it was December 97 that I first came to the US on a student visa. I'd never been to the US before. So coming straight to Chicago in the winter, yeah, that was interesting. Skinny little guy. My sister met me at the airport with my first winter coat. I looked ridiculous in this coat, skinny legs protruding and that kind of stuff. But I was whisked by bus straight to Peoria, Illinois, Central Illinois, a kid from Kenya to Central Illinois. I went and got my Bachelor of Arts in International Studies at Bradley University. And I have no regrets. I didn't know where I was going, but I had a great time there. And then I got my master's here in Chicago in geography and environmental studies at Northeastern Illinois University. And that's where I got my first understanding of natural resources in the Chicago wilderness area. So I kind of concentrated in natural resource management, and I've been doing that kind of work basically ever since. Now, after grad school, I met Bill briefly. I volunteered with the Center of Neighborhood Technology. And then I got my first job consulting for the city of Chicago when we had a Department of Environment. And my job was pretty much helping to manage wetland restoration projects on the south side in the Calumet region. This was an area that was deeply degraded by slag from the steel industry. So we would do grant writing to get funding, to get contractors to help clean up these green spaces. And then we'd get community buy-in by getting CPS students in the community into these natural spaces to teach them about plants, birds, to teach them about what they can do as a community to protect their green spaces. So I did that for a couple of years until, unfortunately, Mayor Rahm Emanuel disbanded our department. That was my first, job loss, heartbreaking at the time, but fortunately, it was only 6 months for me before the Forest Preserve came calling. And that's ever since then, I've been a naturalist. I've been a naturalist with the Forest Preserves of Cook County. It'll be 13 years at the end of this month. So as a naturalist, we wear a lot of different hats. We're educators, we're also animal caretakers, but we also do natural resource management. But one of the favorite things about my job is photography. Photography is one of my passions. It helps me kind of inspire the youth to tell their story, especially their connection with nature. So photography is a way for me to express myself. And I tell nature stories at my nature center, River Trail Nature Center in Northbrook. And a lot of the photos that are on our Facebook page are photos that I've taken of wildlife and opportunities within the forest preserve, but at that specific location. But that's a little bit about me. But I'm really here to talk about the gem, the beauty that is the forest preserves. And this is a history that goes back 111 years. So bear with me as I go through the information. But the founding of the forest preserves was a process that took place over several years. It began in 1913 with the passage of a state law that provided for the preservation of natural lands and authorized the formation of a forest preserve district. Under this new law in November 1914, the residents of Cook County voted to establish the Forest Preserve District. And the first meeting of the Board of the Forest Preserve Commissioners was held in February 1915. Now, the Forest Preserves was envisioned and created by people who recognized the need for nature to forever remain an integral part of the lives of Cook County residents. And this month, like I said, we celebrate 111 years. So a very, very long history there. Now, the environmental visionaries who created the forest preserves were guided by a mission to acquire, restore, and manage lands for the purpose of protecting and preserving public open space with its natural wonders. Significant prairies, forests, wetlands, rivers, streams, and other landscapes with all of its associated wildlife in a natural state for the education, pleasure, and recreation of the public now and in the future. So the forest preserves of Cook County was the first and is now the largest urban conservation preserve system in the nation. There's no other holding like us. And this is very unique because no other metropolitan city has what we have here in Chicago. This is pretty much a national park without the title. All right. In most cases, you can walk to the forest preserves, you can bike there, take public transportation, or even drive there. So this is a gem. And when you think about the concrete jungle that is Chicago, you have all these bits of green spaces that are being held for a lifetime for everybody to enjoy. So this is very unique, and that's why we're trying to encourage as many people to take advantage of it, especially if you're paying taxes in Cook County. You basically own the forest preserve. All right. Now, to learn a little bit more about everything we have. So our system is in around the city of Chicago, and you can kind of see all these green spaces here in Cook County. That's the Forest Preserve system. All right. It kind of looks small compared to everything else that's in the county, but it's very significant because we could have lost all of this at the rate at which Chicago is growing. We could have lost all of these green spaces. All right. So it is comprised of over 70,000 acres and growing of protected land that includes natural habitats, nature centers, and recreational amenities. The preserves are a whopping 11% of all the county's land, and we're growing. Every time we hear about significant farmland that might be being sold, we have an effort to try and gain parcels like that, or else it goes to developers. And again, concrete is just laid on the ground. We receive an estimated 40 million visits each year, providing an escape into a world teeming with wildlife and rich with outdoor recreation and environmental education opportunities. Our lands include rare ecosystems that are found nowhere else on Earth and provide habitat to nearly a quarter of the state's rarest species. Our forest preserves play an important role on a national and international level as well. Many of our preserves are located within migratory pathways and provide food and shelter for waterfowl and songbirds traveling from far as away as South Central America. The Forest Preserves has 22 dedicated nature preserves within our system, more than any other landholding agency in the state, and they contain wildly diverse ecosystems. So think about that. Despite the size of Chicago and despite the size of Illinois, most of Illinois' biodiversity is in Cook County. All right, and that's very, again, very, very significant. The types of ecosystems found in our preserves range from oak woodlands, savannas, wetlands, prairies, and we have lots of different waterways, streams, rivers, ponds, lakes, and bogs. So it's really a wealth of different type of habitats that we have around here. Now, did you know that Cook County is home to more endangered species than nearly any other place in Illinois? We share Cook County with 113 threatened or endangered species, almost a quarter of all the endangered species in Illinois. The region is also home to many rare birds. In 2012, bald eagles nested in the Palos area after 100 years of absence. All right, when we think about the critters that we have lost, we have a resurgence in bald eagles. Now throughout the county, we have several successful nesting pairs of bald eagles throughout the county. And I believe we have maybe two pairs here in the Skokie Lagoons. So next time you're outside, look up to the skies. You just never know when you might see a bald eagle, but they are here. In addition to providing homes for plants and animals, these ecosystems provide important services significant to the environmental health of our region. Our lands comprise the largest clean air resource in the region, as well as the greatest rainwater retention system as well. So again, when we prevent concrete being put on the ground, that helps with maintaining the water reservoir that the Chicago region is. Very, very important. The Forest Preserves has long conducted scientific research on its holdings, partnering with research institutions, conservation organizations, and citizen scientists. We also have a nationally known wildlife research facility that supports important research for the Center for Disease Control and the National Institute for Health. And the preserves themselves are gateways to many nature and wildlife research studies. We work with a range of academic research partners from throughout the region. The Forest Preserves also utilizes citizen scientists who participate in long-running frog, bird, dragonfly, and plant monitoring programs. So you all are significant and can be even more significant by becoming citizen scientists in a lot of the things that the Forest Preserve does. And we have ways of incorporating you in that, and I'll talk about that in a bit. In the past few years, the Forest Preserves has been able to establish the most successful urban osprey program in North America. Part of the Forest Preserve's mission is to conserve places that animals rely on and create healthy habitat for them to be able to thrive. So I mentioned earlier that photography is one of the passions that I have that I use at my job. This project is dear to me because across from River Trail Nature Center, we have an osprey platform that has a nest for ospreys. And for the past 8 years, we've had a pair that returns and successfully produces young, triplets, twins. And part of my job is to take pictures, to document with our biologists. And I can tell you, this young osprey is only about just over a month or so, and already their talons are just massive. All right. These are weapons as well as tools. Already at this stage, they're almost 2 inches and they're razor sharp. So I get out there, hold them, and also take photos of them. And that's what makes my job really, really awesome. The Forest Preserves began an urban coyote study in 2000 that has since become the largest and longest running coyote study in the country. Raise your hands. Anybody seen a coyote out there anywhere in the Chicago area? All right. All right. It's becoming more typical. All right. Coyotes are probably the most intelligent mammal in North America. And that's because they've been able to adapt to all sorts of habitats. mountain areas, wetlands, woodlands, and also our urban areas. Let me ask you, what are coyotes going downtown for? Are they going for the ball game? Are they going for the hot dog? Well, there's so much food in Chicago. Have you seen a Chicago rat? That's a pretty big animal. We also have rabbits, birds if you can catch them. There's a lot of food for coyotes, and they've learned to adapt to the Chicago area. In fact, on YouTube, there's videos of a coyote actually waiting at a red light, waiting for that light to turn red to cross the street. Very intelligent animals. So they're here with us, so we must learn to adapt to their presence as well. Now, the coyote study monitors disease dynamics within the Cook County coyote population, as well as any behavioral changes. Over 700 individual coyotes have been captured and tracked, and we now have a better understanding of how coyotes are able to navigate our urban environment and provide beneficial ecological services that are not generally recognized by the public. The coyote is the largest predator that we have in Cook County. We no longer have the bears. We no longer have the cougars. We no longer have the wolves. It's the coyote. Go ahead. So that's a great question. A full-grown deer is too big for a coyote, but they will go for the young and they'll go for the sick and the elderly. So they do try, but also because there's no hunting in Cook County, it's a small dent in the population of deer in Cook County, but they do try. Mhm.
Oh, there used to be a time when they did uh, uh, thin out the deer population because it was getting too big. And
Yes.
do that?
So that's a very good question. We still do. We have to, because the lack of predators, big predators, that population is really, really big. So we do have to have a program that does selectively thin out the deer population. Yep. Mhm. Yes, we'll get a chance. I'll give you a chance to ask questions, but yes.
I'd like to hold the
Uh-huh.
questions till the end, so Jerry would have a chance to go through his presentation. Thank you.
So after almost 200 years of intensive human settlement, most of Cook County's original prairies, wetlands, woodlands, and forests are now limited to protected preserves. Even within our preserve boundaries, aggressive invasive plant species threaten diversity of our sites. We can restore sites to ecological health by removing invasives and promoting plants that were historically found in these areas. Our goal is restoring 30,000 acres plus to a healthy condition. Now, the Forest Preserves of Cook County is responsible for preserving biodiversity and protecting our precious natural heritage. Many people think that nature can take care of itself, but nature in urban areas needs our help to remain healthy. Working together with citizen volunteers and public and private agencies, the Forest Preserve strives to protect and restore the county's diverse ecosystems, so all our unique native plants and animals can live and thrive. Now, on the left there, you can see some volunteers working on primarily buckthorn to thin it out and then create more open woodlands. That is very, very important. Now, volunteers play a key role in protecting nature in our preserves, but we could use a lot more help. So our volunteer program is very, very significant. One of the most popular ways to volunteer is to help with habitat restoration, remove the invasive species like buckthorn that threaten our ecosystems, collect seed from native plants, help monitor different species of plants, bees, butterflies, frogs, and birds, and even squirrels. You can also volunteer with our educational programs or special events. Trail Watch is a volunteer program for community members interested in helping to keep our preserves safe. We have volunteer opportunities for individuals, groups, and families. You can check out our website for frequently updated volunteer opportunities. In addition to volunteering, we offer opportunities for all different ages and all kinds of outdoor recreation. We know that you'll be able to find something you love here, somewhere in the forest preserves. Just to give you an idea of some of the amenities we have 40 managed lakes and ponds in the forest preserves, 2,000 plus acres of fishing water, 10 water bodies that are open to boating, 7 major waterways that can be canoed or kayaked, 4 model areas, 3 aquatic centers, paddling classes, boat, canoe, and kayak rental. Plus, we have over 300 picnic groves, 10 golf courses, 9 model airplane flying fields, 4 driving ranges, 2 off-leash dog areas, actually I believe it's 3 now, horseback riding, sledding hills, cross-country skiing areas, archery classes, bike rentals, foot golf, disc golf, as well as a zip line adventure course at Bamus Woods. So we have a lot of recreational opportunities throughout our 70,000 plus acres. Now, the way many people enjoy the forest preserves is through a picnic at one of our 300 plus picnic groves. Picnicking is by far one of the most popular activities in the forest preserves, and maybe even you have been to one of these picnic groves. You can reserve your picnic spot online or in person at our headquarters in River Forest. While most activities in the forest preserves are free, there are some things you will need to get a permit for, including scheduling a picnic for a group over 25 people, organizing special events, snowmobiling in our designated areas in the winter, riding your horse in the preserves, bringing your dog on our leash to our off-leash dog areas, as well as to fish in our lakes. In addition to offering picnic groves and shelter reservations, we also have private event rentals. You can plan your next reunion, retirement party, wedding, or other special event at one of our 3 historic indoor facilities, including Dan Ryan Pavilion on the south side of Chicago, Thatcher Pavilion in River Forest, Illinois, and Matthew Bezet Volunteer Resource Center on the northwest side of Chicago. We have over 300 miles of marked trails for hiking, biking, horseback riding, cross-country skiing, and also snowshoeing. We have both paved and unpaved multi-use trails. Our most popular trails are the North Branch Trail, Salt Creek, Des Plaines River Trail, Palos Trail System, and the Cal Sag Trail. So there's opportunities to get out there and walk. 11 years ago, at our centennial celebration, the Forest Preserves reopened public camping for the first time in decades. In past years, camping had only been available to organized youth groups such as Boys and Girl Scouts. We can now offer public camping at 5 different locations across the county. 3 of these were renovated existing campsites, and 2 were built from the ground up. All campsites were open in the summer of 2015. And the ones that we have are Camp Danbeard in Northbrook, Camp Sullivan in Oak Forest, Camp Shabona Woods in South Holland, Camp Bullfrog Lake in Willow Springs, and Camp Reinberg in Palatine. So it kind of shows you how these campsites are spread out throughout the county. Now here's an example of one of our campsites. This is Camp Bullfrog Lake, our only campsite situated on a water body. And as you can see, we offer tent campsites, RV campsites, small cabins, large cabins, and organized group campsites. And everything is ADA accessible. Now, some of these campsites are also active in the winter where you can rent a heated cabin to enjoy as well, because nature is also active during the winter. So you want to come out and enjoy it. You don't need to have any camping experience to visit one of our campsites. In fact, we have camp libraries where we rent out camping equipment. Whatever camping equipment you need, we have it there available for you. We want to make sure that even the most novice camper will have a good experience and connect with nature. If you love birds, the Forest Preserve offers some of the best birding opportunities in Illinois. Our preserves are a popular stopping place for many species of Central and South American birds during their yearly migrations. We have multiple migratory flyways that offer spectacular views of bird activity, especially in nature centers. Over 300 bird species have been spotted in the preserves. Some of these species are warblers, wrens, vireos, flycatchers, tanagers, grosbeaks, ducks, geese, loons, grebes, sparrows, owls, and lots more. We also offer programming for birders like bird walks and organized photography opportunities for birders as well. Now, the Forest Preserves has 6 educational nature centers spread across the county that introduce visitors to the beauty and the complexity of our natural environments. They are Crabtree, Sand Ridge, River Trail where I work, Sagawa, Trailside, and our first one, the Little Red Schoolhouse. Each center offers displays focused on the plants, animals, and communities of the region. And most nature centers have live animal exhibits as well. We offer a diverse range of events and programs based out of these centers. There are programming and educational opportunities for all ages, as well as hands-on exploratory exhibits for kids. Our programs include nature discovery days, animal spotlights, photography workshops, guided hikes, storytelling, restoration work days, and much more. In addition to programs held at nature centers, the Forest Preserves has more than 100 events throughout the year, and most of them are free. We show films in the forest, have forest jam sessions with local musicians, and host events that celebrate history and culture like Settlers Day, Juneteenth, Rendezvous, and Powwow. We also have Kids Fest, Maple Syrup Festival at River Trail Nature Center. I hope to see you in March. Nature Block Party, canoe and kayak marathons, and so much more. The Forest Preserve Naturalists work with teachers to bring environmental education into the classroom and classes into the vast natural classroom and living library of our preserves. We offer field trip programming at nature centers for teachers interested in bringing their students to learn more about ecology in Cook County. We can also bring nature to you. I could come back here with an owl if you'd like. All right. We also offer a long-term program for kids from 4th to 6th grade called Mighty Acorns. Mighty Acorns connects students with nature in our forest preserves through hands-on experience in our preserves. You know, some people are surprised to learn that the Chicago Botanic Garden and Brookfield Zoo are part of the forest preserves, but both actually sit on top of forest preserve land. Opened in 1934, Brookfield Zoo was the first zoo in the United States to feature open-air enclosures where animals were separated by moats and drop-offs instead of cages. The Chicago Botanic Garden is composed of 26 separate gardens and 4 natural areas that are each unique and equally beautiful. The Chicago Botanic Garden and Brookfield Zoo offer wonderful education opportunities for the whole family, ranging from gardening workshops to wild animal encounters. If you're interested in plants, animals, and everything in between, the zoo and the gardens are a must-see. Now, a walk in the forest preserves can reduce stress levels, lower blood pressure, and even help ease depression and mental anxiety. I can proudly say that when the pandemic hit in 2020, our forest preserves remained open. We saw this as an important opportunity to make sure that people had a chance to get outside, to get free air, and also separate instead of just staying indoors. It was a tough time, and the Forest Preserve wanted to make sure that people had that kind of opportunity. The nature centers were closed for the first couple of months, and then eventually reopened, and we mandatorily had to have masks and that sort of stuff. But we recognize the need for green spaces for people to just be and to also just enjoy being out in nature. Passive recreation, just sitting in nature, can also help to improve your health. The forest preserves are also a great place to exercise. Our Swallow Cliff Woods is best known for its dramatic front lawn, which leads up a steep 100-foot tall bluff. The bluff creates one of the toughest and most scenic stair workouts in the country. That place can get really crowded in the summer, everybody trying to get up that bluff, but it's a great place to be. But if you're not up for a climb, there are plenty of trails to hike, bike, and walk along. It's up to you to decide how to use this free 70,000 plus acre gym. And in a nutshell, that's the forest preserves right there. Let me check, is this working?
Excellent presentation, Jerry.
So I just want to,
I'll be glad to have a microphone and walk around. Please raise your hand if you have a question.
before we get to questions, I just want to give you an example of one of the programs or things that we try and do out there. I just want to make sure, is the mic
We can,
hello? Okay, so one of the programs we do, especially for young kids, is related to animal adaptation. A lot of people don't get to see some of these animals in their natural spaces. So we do a program called Animal Coverings. So unfortunately, I don't have some animal coats here for you, but in here, we have some animal coverings. These are real pelts that we use as educational tools that we get folks to kind of guess what they are. All right, so I'm going to pull some out and quickly just give you an idea. All right, right here. So these are real. We don't go out and kill animals. These are animals that died a very long time. They were found, they were sent to a taxidermist, and then we got the pelt for education. Any guesses who this might be? Fox? Yeah. You think that's a fox? Let me see if I can make that interesting, though. All right, right here. Yeah. So who would this be? All right, so we have a red fox. All right, and we have a coyote, the largest predator in our woods. All right, a lot of people think they're wolves. Unfortunately, wolves were hunted out of Illinois. All right, so just to give you another example. Now, this one you probably have never seen. All right, this is one I gave my name. I think I'm the only one that's seen this animal. All right. I just call it the Jerry animal. I'll be surprised if anybody's seen this before. Any guesses?
skunk.
All right. We have a striped skunk. Okay. So a lot of people see this out there. They want to run away because it has a defense, an adaptation that keeps it safe. All right. So just some quick examples of some of the stuff that we do. But I want to open it up to some questions, okay?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, great presentation.
Thank
I I have lived next to forest preserves. I can't tell you how many years, and I didn't realize how much goes on there.
Yes.
Just fantastic. And your presentation was wonderful. And I'm glad I've been a member of the Botanic Garden ever since it opened up, and that's a wonder. I was going to ask about that. I'm glad it's part of the forest preserve. So
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. You have the mic circulating, or oh, go ahead. If I can hear you, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Safe from, are we talking animal or human? So, so we always promote being vigilant. All right. In the most part, you're good to walk around. It's always awareness. We teach awareness, and that's also, we teach knowledge. It's important to know where you're at, to know about what's around you and stuff. So for the most part, you're safe going through the forest preserves. We have, for example, one of the volunteer opportunities, Trail Watch. The volunteers that do that are all about safety, security, and giving information out. If there's an issue, they call the Forest Preserve Police. Our Forest Preserves has its own police force, and they will patrol the different preserves as well and show their presence to make sure there aren't any issues like that. Of course, things happen, and that's why vigilance is important. That's why we encourage going out with a partner, a group, or that sort of thing, and also being aware of times, because the preserves close at certain times, all right? And usually it's at sunset, but the nature centers, for example, my nature center closes at 4 p.m. Okay, so vigilance is very, very important, but the more you know about an area, the better. All right, so, but we don't want to discourage you. It's a great place to be. There are so many different places, and there are forest preserves where there's a lot more people around. So you'll feel safer in those type of places, but please don't let that deter you. Okay? Yes.
I was at Patriot Park and I saw a great big eagle up in the tree.
Nice.
And I stood there on the path and it looked at me and I looked at it and it just sat there looking and
Yes.
looking. I'm glad it didn't think I was a big rat or something. Also, there is a water retention area that has been built along Hibbard Road. I'm sure that's Forest Preserve property along Hibbard Road. It took about 10 years to get all permits and everything, and now it's all along Hibbard Road. The one on the water, you see it and it's clear. About a block or two over, that water is covered solid with duckweed. And I can't figure out why one is perfectly clear. It's a stream, it goes all around.
Okay.
One part of it's clear, the other part is covered with duckweed. I mean, solid duckweed.
Is the part that's covered, is it stagnant? What is the water flowing?
No, the water flows from
Okay.
like through the first part, around the corner or something, into that second part, and it's stagnant, and then it goes on into like a stream. It
Okay.
keeps going.
So unfortunately, duckweed, even though a lot of some birds will eat it, in some places it is an issue because it does cover the surface of water,
Yeah.
preventing oxygen from going in for the fish and others. So we do have, unfortunately, places like that. But we aren't able to get to all places. The staff of the forest preserves is very, very small compared to the amount of land that we have. And that's why we rely on contractors as well as volunteers as well. And then sometimes it's, up to the municipality to help deal with.
Yeah, it's a Winnetka.
We got a question back here.
Thank you.
Totally, I'll hold it. Okay, I will.
Ironically, yesterday I was walking at the woods off of Waukegan Road, just north of on Oakton, near Dun. And it was around 4:30, and I have been bicycling through the Forest Preserve for 40 years, but now it's a problem. We almost got run over by those motorized bikes and the electric bikes. Is there going to be any kind of rules or something, a poster that says electric bikes or any kind of way that they can have their own lane? Or it was pretty scary because there are people on both sides of the road and they go quite fast.
Thank you for bringing that up. Our trails are multi-use, and we do have rules for electric bikes. We have speed limits depending on the type of bike. Unfortunately, people don't abide by rules, and enforcement is tricky because even though we have a police department, it's hard for them to be all over the place. So patrolling is a tough thing. We do encourage people, when you come across incidents like that, call 911 immediately. Say you're in the forest preserves, 911 connects you to Forest Preserve Police, and they do their best to deal with that. I've biked on the trail sometimes and kids in a four-wheeler ATV have stormed by. I get off my bike, 911, this is what's going on, and they try and respond immediately to the issue. So it's trick, we understand different electric bikes, for example, are beneficiary in terms of, especially for folks who may not have the ability to bike all the time. The electric part gives access, and that's why we have speed limits. But unfortunately, with all the access routes and stuff, it's hard to enforce some of these things. So there are posts in certain places, not all over, and that is something we're trying to figure out as well.
In response to this lady,
Yes.
that's Techney Basin, and their tax of
Tech-
the year that fills up.
Okay, so Glenview Park District, yes.
Yeah, but it is a basin, and I've seen it have water in it.
Okay, okay. It's a great place for birding as well.
We have a question here.
She was talking about Techney Basin, close to perhaps where the duckweed comment came from.
I'm just wondering if there's any comparison or cooperation between Illinois and the wonderful states that surround us.
In terms of conservation, so when I talk about Chicago wilderness, so it's a wilderness that basically Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and then certain parts of Michigan. So in terms, say that again? Yes, a lot of organization, and Chicago Wilderness is that example of cooperation going on because we have the same issues going on. We want some more community buy-in. So a lot of organizations will get together to talk about different things, to support each other, especially when it comes to example, bird migration. Birds know no boundaries. So we have that thing in common. So there is a lot of collaboration that goes on. Yeah.
Jerry, we've got some Zoom questions.
Okay.
One comment, great presentation, Judy mentions.
Thank you.
So informative. I lived near a forest preserve for decades and never knew what you presented. So I think that's a testament to you. Question from Tom Goblet. You mentioned buckthorn as an invasive species. That has been worked on for many years. What other invasive species concern you and what mitigating efforts are or can be used?
So buckthorn is a big one. Honeysuckle, multiflora, rose. There are also some native species that unfortunately become invasive because they grow so fast. They choke out some of the other native species of plants that we want around. So there are a host of different things. Birds, starlings, for example, that is an issue in some places. It is hard to deal with some of them, but that's why, for example, the volunteer opportunities that we have, like the nature centers have monthly stewardship days where we equip you with all the equipment, the goggles, the gloves, the loppers, to help cut buckthorn, and then we herbicide the buckthorn stumps to prevent them from growing again. And then you can also help us seed that area to make sure native plants will take over that community instead of buckthorn as well.
We've had 23 on Zoom and a pretty full audience here, so it's really been interesting. I have a couple quick personal questions.
Sure.
I fish Skokie lagoons.
Okay.
You mentioned permit. I don't need a special permit other than a fishing permit.
So it's just a fishing license.
Right, just a
Yes.
regular fishing.
Yes.
By the way, super seniors can get it's like $5.
Discount, yes.
It's pretty easy.
Yes.
Another fishing question of more general interest. Do you manage the fishing? Or not you personally, but is it managed?
So we have a fisheries department that does that. They will stock, I'm not sure if it's all of the lakes, but they will stock the lakes with fish for fishing.
Periodically.
Yes, I believe it's an annual thing.
Okay, now one that is a little bit deeper. My last question. You grew up in Africa.
Yes.
I grew up on the west side of Chicago.
Okay.
Green spaces
Yes.
were maybe someone's backyard,
Mhm.
but never even saw it mowed much. You lived in an area, I'm assuming that being a naturalist, that naturalist attitude began rather young.
Yes.
Do you see any differences between how you are able to, or when you make your visits back home, where home was? Do people have a better understanding of nature than we city dwellers have?
You know, it's different. It's all about appreciation. It's all about how you were taught or grew up. In a lot of communities in Africa, the connection with the land is very, very deep. Similar to the Native American communities here. You basically get your life from the land. So why not respect the land? So a lot of communities from birth, you're taught a lot of stuff about the land. Even though I grew up in the city, similar to Chicago, skyscrapers, all that stuff, but on a smaller level, I was just fascinated with green space. And I went to the types of schools where we had school projects and trips to green spaces. And I always sought to be in a green space. I just loved being outdoors in nature. So my appreciation started from an early age. But you have a lot of community representatives, citizens that just start community work like that to get people to appreciate, even if it's a small plot of land, you know.
I'm going to share one quick story.
Sure.
My grandfather owned our house on the west side of Chicago,
Okay.
underneath the L tracks. He had a green space maybe twice as big as this,
Okay.
with the world's best victory garden in the 40s.
Okay.
We had fresh vegetables. We had beautiful food. I moved to Northbrook, and I have a quarter-acre home.
Okay.
He comes out to visit, and he sees the grass
Yeah.
around the back.
Yeah.
And he goes, Ronnie, where are your cows? And I think that tells us the difference.
Yes.
But thank you for sharing your
Yes.
personal experience as
Sure.
well.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Very concerned. Oh, sorry. I'm very concerned about the deer and the ticks
Yeah.
that are on the deer
Yeah.
that cause diseases. Now, I remember when there was people certain times of the year
Yeah.
that shot deer to thin them out because they reproduce very quickly.
Yeah.
Now, what is the story with the ticks and the deer?
So our biology team, that's part of the research that they do. So they study all animals throughout the forest reserve, even deer. So they'll go out and they'll look for fawn, they'll collar some of them, blood samples, everything. They're looking to learn about some of the diseases and also tick populations in the deer around here. So there is research, ongoing research to better understand some of these diseases and how some of these diseases can jump from animals to people. So ticks are a big concern. Unfortunately, right now, with the way the climate is, they continue to be a concern because we don't have the winter patterns that help to kill off some of these things. So again, that's why awareness and education is important. That's why we have rules about staying on the trail during the growing season to limit the potential to get ticks. So that's why, it's important to learn about these things. They're out there. The deer are out there, and that happens. It's hard to do that on a large scale because we're in an urban area. We're surrounded by people building. So you have to be very selective on how you thin a population like that. But it does happen. It has to happen. The other way deer are controlled are unfortunately motor car accidents. But that's not the way we want. But we do have a program that has to deal with that.
Jerry, two more questions.
Sure.
I have one from Zoom, and then we
Okay.
have a last question from the auditorium.
Okay.
Robert S. from Zoom is asking, is the Metropolitan Water District responsible for removing fallen trees from the north branch of the Chicago River that flows through the forest preserves?
So great question. We partner with MWRD because, of course, the waterways, their jurisdiction. But in terms of trees, the forest reserves, depending on the location, forest preserves with the Chicago Park District, they collaborate on things like that. But the forest preserve does deal with issues with trees like that.
Yeah, thank you for your superb information. Just a comment, I worked at New Trier High School for many years, and they were one of the first high schools to have an environmental science course. And every year they would come out into the forest preserve and clear the buckthorn. As one of those speakers told me, the history of Salmi Woods, it used to be a dairy farm on the corner of Dundee and Skokie. And for years, the buckthorn has been cleared, and it is just a tremendous place to go if you have the opportunity. It's so close. But in the acquisition of the farm from the dairy owner, he was very upset because it was eminent domain. And it must have been in the 1920s. But in order to make the public realize that it was such a good idea to make this a forest preserve, they named it after a First World War battle, Somme in France. A great marketing idea. And it went over, and now we have Salmi Woods. And if you haven't visited it, go to see it. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. And one of the things that's really significant about that area is the migration of amphibians. Amphibians, all right, salamanders. All right, so we have volunteers there that help with the migration of salamanders, because these animals will cross road, parking lot, and that sort of stuff. And this is an example of why we have to preserve some of these green spaces, because they have such amazing plants and animals, and Salm Woods is one of those awesome examples right there. Really, Forest Preserve is really a gem, a treasure that we have in the Chicago area. So, yeah.
Jerry, we have to
Yes.
wrap it up.
Sure.
Thank
I mean,
you so
I could
much.
go on. but-
We could too. Fabulous presentation.
Sure. Thank you.